This episode was brought to you by Locali. Looking for that perfect spot where every guest is treated like family? Welcome to Locali Restaurant in Little Silver, where family recipes meet elevated Italian cuisine. From hand-tossed Neapolitan pizzas to mouth-watering chicken parm, fresh seafood, and perfectly cooked steaks, every bite tells a story generations in the making. Relax on their year-round patio, enjoy a craft cocktail from their full bar, or let them bring the flavor to you with catering for any occasion. Locali Restaurant, family-owned, family-inspired, and always unforgettable. Mention Food Czar Podcast to get 10% off any takeout order. Visit Locali in Little Silver or online at localinj.com. This episode was brought to you by Aesthetica Med Spa. Hey everyone, I have to tell you about someone who has completely transformed my skin. Diana Joseph, founder of Aesthetica Med Spa right in Livingston, New Jersey. Diana is a master esthetician and skincare expert with over 20 years of experience. She stays on top of the latest skincare innovations and technologies, offering treatments like Hydrofacial MD, Morpheus 8 microneedling, corrective chemical peels, IPL, permanent hair removal, and so much more. But what really sets her apart is how personal she makes every treatment. Diana customizes each service to your skin's needs and gives you the knowledge to maintain results at home. So if you're in Livingston or nearby, do yourself a favor and book a visit at Aesthetica Med Spa. Experience where expertise meets passion with Diana Joseph. Your skin will thank you. Mention Food Czar Podcast to get a 20% discount off your first service. For more information, go to aestheticamedspa.com.
This is Behind the Counter. With the Food Czar. Here's Heidi.
Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Counter with the Food Czar, which is me, Heidi Blum. Today, I'm so excited. I know I say it every podcast, but I really am because I am at one of my favorite restaurants in this past year. Thank God it opened, and I love it. But I am with the assistant general manager, who in my opinion is so much more than that, which is what I just said before I press record. I'm with Mike Barreto, and we are at Judy's in Asbury Park.
Yes, yes.
So welcome to the podcast, Mike.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to do this. I love this industry. I love what we do. So getting to talk about it is, I think the real problem is going to be getting me to shut up about it.
It's okay. But here's what I'm going to say. Let's talk about a few things. When I first came here, I remember you coming to our table with the biggest smile, and it was you feel as if we've met before. But I feel like you're that way with everybody on the floor, every guest, every staff member. You have that energy about you.
You know, I try to approach it, as authentically as I try to live every day. I love being here, but, really one of the things that I think is so important about this life that we're living is human connection.
Yes.
And I think it's one of those things that is rapidly evaporating in front of our eyes.
Yes.
So to be in a space where it is what this is all about.
Yeah.
Is that human connection is like, you have to capitalize on that. And I want people to come in here and I want them to feel, welcome. I want to get to know you. I want to see pictures of your dogs and stuff like that. It's like, it's what it's all about.
So based on that, when we came the second time, we were friends. I walked in, you gave me a big hug. You remembered my name. It was amazing. And honestly, that's part of why I love Judy's. In Asbury, is you feel between you, our waitress, Susanna. It really you feel like you were remembered. And I think that is a very special thing at a restaurant.
Yeah.
You don't get that everywhere, but you, Mike, this is going to be so complimentary, but you, I think, are that energy on the floor.
Thank you
I
so
see
much.
how you walk around, and that's why I wanted to sit with you today.
Thank you.
I will also say, if you don't know Mike, if you've never been to Judy's, I'm going to describe you a little bit because it's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
Is you are tattooed up, you have a nose ring, you have a gold tooth, you have nail polish on your nails, and you wear The most worn-in green Doc Martens ever. I mean, you have the coolest vibe ever.
Oh, thank you so much.
And it makes me feel, and I think when we were here last time, it makes me feel like you have a little bit of a story.
Yeah, I like to think I do. I'm kind of just like a, corny little punk kid at heart. I started coming to Asbury Park, believe it or not. I went to my first Stone Pony show, I think when I was 12.
Wow.
11 or
What was
12.
the show? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was a couple of touring punk rock groups. This band Set Your Goals from California, this band Gravemaker from Canada. They were a hardcore band from Canada. And somehow my best friend Chris and I convinced his dad to bring us to the show, and he just dropped us off
at 12.
Yeah. I mean, he went
very
around
different, very different. Yeah.
And it's crazy. I was actually thinking of this story on the way over here, and I was like, that was over 20 years ago. And that it blew my own mind. And, but yeah, and I just like the area, and, I grew up listening to like punk rock music, hardcore music, and like, it's always just been what I've identified with. And like, that kind of translates to, I feel like, a lot of things, one, the aesthetic,
Yes.
I grew up around tattoos. I grew up around people getting tattooed.
Where'd you grow up? What town?
I'm from Brick Township, New Jersey.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, so I
shout
grew
out
up,
to Brick.
Yeah, shout out to Brick. Yeah. I mean, honestly, and that's like a lesser known little thing in like the punk and hardcore scene. Like Brick has had like such a thriving scene for years.
Oh wow, I wouldn't know that.
Yeah. So it's like it's really cool to have grown up around that and in that circle of people, and just going to little VFW halls and getting the shit kicked out of me. And
that's awesome.
like that was all part of it. But
did you play an instrument?
Yeah. So growing up, I mean, that's funny. That was always like my dream. My dream was to be in like a touring band, and
punk rock band.
Yeah, punk rock band, and like it didn't work out. Not to say that it can't work out. You're
never too old. I promise you. I'm
never.
Still trying to play the guitar. So there you have it.
We'll get you there.
Yeah.
But and I grew up surrounded by friends of mine that were musicians. So I picked up a guitar, and I remember I started doing guitar lessons, and the teacher wanted to teach me the Beatles.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but what about like Black Sabbath? And he was like, no, like let's start here. And then that night I went home and I was like, yeah, Mom, I'm good. I'm like, I'll be all right. And I taught myself, and I leaned on my friends, and so I started playing guitar, and then like I started like singing and playing bass and stuff like that. So yeah, I just kind of like dove in and was in like a bunch of real crummy little crappy bands all throughout.
But you were
up.
living the dream at the moment. I bet. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Playing somebody's garage. Like that was awesome.
The best.
Yeah. One of my favorite memories was I played a basement somewhere in like, I don't know, like Point Pleasant or something like that. And it was just like
a house party.
Yeah. It was like a crowded basement. And, I was just me and an acoustic guitar at the time. And I played like a couple original songs. And of course, nobody knows them.
Yeah.
So then, I played this one really popular song from when I was younger. It was called A Favorite House Atlantic by Coheed and Cambria. They're like a New York band. And everybody knew it. And so like I did this cover of this song, and I'm surrounded by all these people that know it, and they're singing the words back to me. And that was the moment that like locked it in.
That's was like lighters are up.
Yeah. And I think, it's this is actually a connection I'm making for the first time, I think, on this podcast, is that moment was probably what skyrocketed me liking being the center of attention.
You felt you get that adrenaline rush. I know.
And now I make the dining room my stage.
I was going to say the dining room, I mean, it's an amazing metaphor, but the dining room is a stage. Every night you are putting on a production, right?
Absolutely.
And I don't think guests realize that I'm sure, which we'll get into.
Sure.
Like before the guests come in, you have to talk to the staff. Mm-hmm. You talk to the kitchen.
Yeah.
You talk to the bartenders.
Yeah.
You talk to the host. You talk to everybody to make sure everyone's in sync.
It is an absolute production, and it does not happen without a team that really believes in what's going on.
Yeah.
Every day it's like, before our first guests get here, we're all here hours beforehand.
Yeah.
Prepping the kitchen, especially. The kitchen is here for hours and hours beforehand. And then the front of house team gets in, and it's just, we want to make sure that every detail, like down to like our table settings, looks as crisp as can be, up to the standards that we're trying to uphold. And then, we 4:30 sharp. Family meal and pre-shift meeting. That's every day. We have that half hour before the doors open to discuss the evening, to have a meal with one another, because it's so important to do that.
Yeah.
Eating with one another, food is community, food is love.
Amen.
And to start each shift, that's why it's called family meal.
Yes.
That's why, because that's the moment where, it really matters, because you're getting ready for it.
Yeah.
Whether it's like a moderate cover night or a night where you're busting at the seams and people are walking in, and you like, that's the moment that locks it in place.
So let's take it back for a second. So you grew up a punk rock kid in Brick Township.
Yeah.
Then do you go to college? Do you start working in the restaurant business? How does that?
So yeah, I guess we could start all this by saying that the restaurant industry was never on my radar. Never on my radar. Shout out to 14-year-old me quitting McDonald's. Yeah, that
Look
was.
At you now.
Look at me now, Mom. Yeah. No, I love my mom. So graduate high school, and then after I graduated high school, I went to Albright College in Reading, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And it's a small little liberal arts school, and I started studying art. So, because all throughout high school, I loved to draw, I loved to make things. I was always, that was always what I loved. That was
you have
the
the
elective.
creative brain going.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I started at Albright College, and I was studying sculpture.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was studying sculpture, and I went there for 2 years. And then at the end of my second year, I didn't really know what I was doing. So I transferred out, and I went to Monmouth for a semester.
Okay.
And then at the end of that semester, I was like, man, I really miss Albright. And then I reached out to a friend of mine who worked in the admissions department.
Okay.
And, they were very sad to see me leave when I did, because I really immersed myself into their campus, and it was a small school.
Yeah.
And when I reached out to my friend who worked in the admissions department, I was like, hey, I think I made a mistake leaving. I'd really love to come back. And then I went there, had a meeting with the admin department, and we made it happen. And I finished my junior year of college back at Albright. And then senior year, and then that
graduated.
was it. Yeah. So I got a bachelor's degree in studio art.
Okay.
With a focus in sculpture. And then
where do you take that? So what do? You graduate, and then you want to be a sculpturist?
Yeah.
Is that the right word?
That's sculptor.
A sculptor. Thank you. Okay, fine.
But we can make words up. This is our show.
I do it all the time.
This is our show. So I graduate, and I had like a senior thesis exhibition, at the college, which was really cool. And the next step was okay, well, what is the next step? So I actually got accepted at New Jersey City University.
Okay.
To get my MFA.
Wow.
So the whole goal originally was to go get the MFA.
Yeah.
And then become a college art professor.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the goal. And so I didn't stop. I had that summer off.
Yeah.
And then I went right into NJCU. I moved up to Jersey City. I started going to NJCU. I was doing full-time graduate studies up there.
Yeah.
And I did that for my first year. And then at the end of my first year, I was feeling crazy burnt out. Art grad school is nuts. It's nothing.
I'm sure,
you're surrounded by professors that really want you to succeed.
Yeah.
But the way to get you there is
they're pushing you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You are.
It's a grind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember one critique I had, and the first thing after I explained this sculptural installation that I did, this one professor just goes, "Yeah, I don't see it." And I was like, oh, this is
Oh my
fun.
God. You're hours and hours and hours and hours.
I was like, oh, this is cool. That's awesome.
Oh my God.
But anyway, yeah. So I was approached by a friend of mine in my graduate cohort at the end of my first year. And she was like, hey, I'm a high school teacher in Lodi. I'm leaving. Would you be interested in the position?
Wow.
And I was like,
To teach art? Was she an art teacher?
Yeah. And I was like, let me think about it.
Yeah.
And then I hop on the phone with my dad and I was like, yeah, this girl, she's leaving her job and she offered me, to put my name in. And my dad was like, why wouldn't you do that? He was like, you've been going to school nonstop. He's like, don't you think it'd be cool to like make a little money? And it was like one of those moments where like you talk to like your mom or you talk to your dad and they kind of give you that metaphorical slap on the side of the head. And you're like, oh yeah, I guess that would be a good idea.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
With the main goal being education and this opportunity put in my lap. So
Totally.
Right after that conversation with my dad, I like freaked out and I like texted her.
As a teacher, just going back to what you talked about, that's performing now. You're
100%.
performing at a classroom level. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I reached out to my friend who had offered the position initially, and she set up an interview with me, and then I went and I interviewed with the administration department at the school.
Yeah.
And I got the job.
And Mike becomes a high school teacher.
High school teacher, right?
Wow.
Crazy. Yeah. So that was
Did you love that?
I really did. I did it for 3 years, right up until COVID shut us down.
Oh my God. Okay.
And it was a small private school up in Lodi, New Jersey.
Yeah.
I was very lucky because I didn't have my teacher certificate.
Yeah.
So it was a private school, so they were able to hire whomever they wanted.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a really cool, 3 years. It was, teaching is hard.
Yes.
And it's no shock to anybody out there. I don't think anybody would disagree that, teachers are some of the hardest working people out there and the most like underpaid people out there, and, but again, it was a really cool 3 years. I learned a lot in that time.
Yeah.
And in that time, I started working for Heirloom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that is like kind of the trajectory of my hospitality career.
So what were you? Okay. So for those listening, there's Good Trouble Hospitality.
Yes.
Which is Dave Viana and Neely Robinson.
Yes.
They're the heads of Good Trouble Hospitality.
Yes.
They own Heirloom
Kitchen in Old Bridge.
Right.
Yep.
They own the lovely Lita in Aberdeen.
Mm-hmm.
And now Judy's and Harry's.
Yes.
Which is in the St. Laurent Hotel in Asbury.
Yes.
Harry's is a cocktail bar.
Mm-hmm.
Judy's, because I know this so well, is a restaurant with the tagline being a Jewish woman who thinks she's Italian.
Yes.
Which is just the most brilliant thing ever. So you were working, so you end up getting a job at Heirloom Kitchen.
So right before I got a job at Heirloom Kitchen, so again, the world shut down. I'm finishing out that year, the educational year as a teacher, remote. And I send a letter of resignation to my principal at the time because I just was like, I just can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I just fell out of love with it. Not particularly, just because of COVID. I think COVID was the push.
Totally.
But towards the end of that, that second year into the third year, it was really awesome. Like, being a teacher is an incredibly taxing, beautiful thing. But I was realizing that maybe this wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So again, so COVID hits, we shut down. And then after I finished that year, I was like, I really need a job.
Yeah.
So my wife, she's a hairstylist here in town. And so at the time, the school year is about to end and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to fucking do. Like, I was like, this is what I had been doing for 3 years. And so she reaches out to a very, very dear friend of ours and a very, very dear friend of our restaurant group, Tanya. So Tanya formerly used to own Nettie's in
Nettie's
Tinton Falls.
Spaghetti?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Tanya formerly owned Nettie's in Tinton Falls. And so at the time, she still owned it. And my wife did Tanya's hair.
Okay.
So Tanya, my wife reaches out to Tanya and is like, hey, my husband needs a job. Do you have any openings? And so, she brings me on board, post-COVID, like restaurants reopening, they weren't super busy, but, she said yes to giving me a job, which I'm super thankful for. And then, so I started working for Nettie's as a barback.
Wow.
I had very little restaurant experience prior to that. She just took me on and threw me behind the bar. And, I was working there a couple days a week, making a couple bucks. And then, eventually it got to the point where again, it wasn't super busy at the time. A lot of restaurants were struggling at the time.
Yeah.
And so Tanya, unbeknownst to me, very good at the time. Now, obviously I know, but super good friends with Neely.
Okay.
So now Tanya reaches out to Neely and was like, hey, I got this kid who really wants to work, but I just can't give him shifts. And this is one of my favorite stories because Neely immediately goes to Tanya, okay, well, what's wrong with him? Little did she know.
Is he special? Yeah.
So she sets up a meeting with Neely and I. I take a ride up to Old Bridge. The rest is kind of history. Then I start being a back waiter over at Old Bridge.
So was Heirloom Kitchen the first one that opened?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So so there you're doing the same job now. You're on the wait staff. Is that what you said?
So Heirloom has about over a decade's worth of time under their belt. Being open as a restaurant in Old Bridge. I mean, they started for if you don't know. So they actually started as like a showroom.
It wasn't it like a cooking school?
So before the cooking school and all that stuff, they started as like a boutique kind of showroom for cool kitchenware and stuff like that. And then they got the open kitchen installed.
Yeah.
And then, Neely started bringing in chefs to do classes and little dinner pop-ups and stuff like that. And then when she met David was like, oh no, this has to be a restaurant. And then the two of them collabed and then Heirloom Kitchen was born.
Wow.
In a nutshell. That's very much like a shortened, condensed
So you
version.
came to it when it was in which phase?
So they were fully
operating as a
restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, and I joined the staff as a back waiter, as a busser.
Wow.
Yeah. I had I had very little restaurant experience under my belt. They are a very well-oiled machine up there, as all of our restaurants are.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And so she put me on as a back waiter, and I just kind of fell in love with it. I saw the duality between what they were doing with food and service and how infatuated I had been with art my whole life. And I was like, these are the same thing.
I was just going to say food and art go hand in hand. If you are with the right people and the right chef and the right, it really, on so many levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, this was a restaurant experience that I had never been exposed to. I didn't know things like this existed.
Sure.
And I saw the open kitchen. I saw the way that they played it. I was like, I don't know half the things on this menu. I was I didn't, and I always grew up growing up. I grew up, I'm Italian, Polish, and Cuban.
The best food of it. You have the best mix.
So, I'm really...
You need a little bit of Jewish in there and you're set. Yeah.
So, basically with those three, I'm really loud and I love to eat.
Yeah.
So I always loved food. My mom is has always been a phenomenal home cook. And so, stepping into this sphere of, Heirloom, they were this was the only restaurant at the time.
Yep.
In, the hospitality group, I was just enamored. I coming at it from more of a cognitive aesthetic, sort of way in the arts and thinking about painting and sculpture and things like that. And I saw that the way that David and the kitchen staff at the time was plating and approaching the ideas super cerebrally, if that's a word.
See, we make up words on here.
Yeah, right. And I was just like, what the fuck? This is so cool.
So when you look back, right, and your first gig at Heirloom, now, let me ask you this. Did you then grow your position, obviously, in Heirloom?
Yes.
So what was the next step?
So the next step was, I was a busser, back waiter, as we call it.
Yep.
And, I wanted to be a captain, which is our servers.
Yep.
And so... I was waiting for the opportunity because, Heirloom's a small unit. A lot of the people who are working there have been working there for a very long time, and they're extremely, extremely good at what they do. So, I wanted to be part of the server team. And so, I was waiting for it. And one day. I say one day. No, it was Valentine's Day. And we had one of the servers had an emergency and called out. And they were pretty much like, all right, you're in.
You're the understudy.
Yeah. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, it's my time to go. And like, like I didn't like, that was one of the things like they told me when I got there. So like I had no time.
Preparation.
I was like, okay, so it's go time. And then from that moment on, I started by splitting my time up where I would, I would be one of the support staff members on some nights of the week and then pick up some serving shifts on other nights of the week until it kind of naturally gave way that I was just part of the server rotation there.
And did you love that part of it?
I loved it because that's what, that's really, because as you know, like with Susanna and our other captains that you've met and, that is where I noticed I was like, okay, I get to be the one that is conducting this experience.
Yes.
And I get to be myself and embed myself into this thing that wants me to be part of it.
Yes.
Which was really special. And I have to super, super cool shout out to Noah and to Kristen. They are two of the captains still working over at Heirloom. Without them, I wouldn't know my like ass from my elbow.
Did they help train you?
Yeah, they did big time. And then, outside of them, you have David and Neely who saw this thing that I was bringing to what they had created.
Yeah.
And, they took a chance on me as somebody who had no experience basically coming into a very intense, loving environment where like hospitality is they live and breathe it. And so, and they saw that in me.
Yeah.
And they decided to take that chance and, I'm forever grateful for it. And they nurtured that.
So like looking back, right. Can you like point out, like, was there a specific night that you like can go back to and say, I learned this from that? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm sure there were mistakes along the way. There's learning curves all over the place.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, mistakes are like, just a blanketed statement. Mistakes are as important, if not more important than your successes, because at the end of the day, as long as you're learning, that's a successful day.
Yeah.
And you don't learn quicker than from a mistake. But I think,
I wouldn't even say a mistake. Let's not even call it a mistake. Let's call it like, I guess when you're learning, when you're back then learning, what were like a couple of things that you bring forward to you now? You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So a couple of things that I learned back then that I capitalize on now is, I think it's just, knowing like the way you approach a table. Approaching a table with warmth, and approaching a table with not just warmth, but with confidence.
Yes.
That was something that I learned back then that I think about, every day, when I'm here. And because, these people that are coming in, they're coming in, they want to be, they're here for a reason. They want to be treated.
Yeah.
And that's part of this.
It's a night out for them. They're spending money. They want an experience.
Yeah. And so like, to approach a table with kindness and confidence and really lock that in like right out the gate where these people can relax.
Yes.
And they can trust in the person that is taking care of them.
Yeah.
That's when some of the best experiences happen.
Well, back to what I said in the beginning, you have that.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, and I guess with Heirloom Kitchen and Lovely Lita and now Judy's, in the culinary world, these are major New Jersey restaurants. So for people who don't know those restaurants, these are major. I mean, they get a lot of awards.
Thank you.
A lot of accolades. It's no joke.
Yeah.
So when people are coming as a customer, they're expecting that. That's the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the standard that we set for ourselves is both high but incredibly realistic.
Yeah.
And it's only realistic, again, I keep going back to this because of the people we have in place here at our restaurants, whether it's here, Heirloom Kitchen, Lita, the people that we surround ourselves with, is everything, and I think it comes down to like what our culture is and what we stand for here
Yeah.
by way of hospitality and just as human beings,
Yeah.
just knowing that, generosity and authenticity and kindness is like, at our core. And you see that, like, you see that with like our staff in the way that even on like a totally sold out Saturday night, like we'll have a moment to like sit there and like, a song comes on that we all like.
Yeah.
And then like, 3 of us are singing it to each other across the dining room and stuff like that. But it's like, again, it's like this culture that we have cultivated in our restaurant group that is what it starts from within and then it works itself out. And when you have that love from the inside out, it's what confidently allows me to say that I don't think you're going to find our style of hospitality anywhere else.
I'm a customer, and I agree.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
So, and that's why I'm sitting here today. But I think also it translates to the customers. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, totally.
Like if it hasn't happened to me here, but if, and I'm not that person anyway. Like I
Sure.
could care less if there's a mistake, with my wrong wine, wrong dish, whatever. But I think that, as we know in other restaurants, customers can they take control.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the energy, the attitude, the warmth, everything that you're saying translates to the customers that you're like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Everyone's I don't know. You come to Judy's and everyone's in such a good mood. There's a buzz every time I come.
Thank you so much.
I mean,
It
and I
means a
think
lot.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, I think it translates to the customers.
I think so. And it's one of the things that, I just had during pre-shift on Friday. I had a moment at the end where I just kind of talked to the staff and I relayed just how incredibly proud of all of them that I am. Because one of the most common things that we hear in our reviews or just people coming up to me or Adam or anybody, at the end of the night on their way out is they talk about the staff.
Yes.
They talk about the excellence of the service, and they talk about, on more of like a human level, they talk about just like how incredibly refreshing it is to see the way that our staff interacts with one another.
Yeah. I'm telling you, when we came the second time, not only were you like, oh my God, hi, Heidi.
Yeah.
Susanna was the same way.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, remembered our name off the bat. I mean, it was literally like, I was like, oh my God, I'm home.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
That's what we wanted to feel like. And we wanted to feel like that, authentically.
Yes, it feels that way.
Because like we just, it's true, that we care as much as we do. And, there's a lot of, like, kind of like kitschy, ness to like the saying of like, oh, well, like we're like a family here, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's like, it really is. Like I do spend time with these people on my days off.
Yeah.
We do talk in group chats. We do go bowling. We do like, it's like, it's cool.
It's funny. I took a selfie. It was me, you, and Susanna.
Yes,
and I don't remember who the server was behind, like jumped in the picture. And do you know what I'm talking about? And I was like, I had no idea who she was. She came out of nowhere, but it was just very playful and fun. And I think that's totally, I mean, let's hold on a second.
Sure. Yeah.
I want to continue with Heirloom. So you become a server.
Yes.
And then what happens?
So I become a server. I just really love it. I like really fall in love with it. And, I'm just, that's what I'm doing then. I didn't really, I had left education. There was I'm kind of glazing over this, but there was actually like an 8 or 9 month period of time alongside serving that I apprenticed to be a tattooer.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's your art side too. Yeah.
And you know what? It was one of those things where, I've been getting tattooed since I was 17 years old. And it was one of these things where, there's just as dedicated you have to be to like any sort of industry. I saw how much time and dedication, went into tattooing. And, at the time I was working at Heirloom Kitchen as a server. That was my main source of income. And I was also about like 6-7 months out from getting married at the time.
Wow.
And, my now wife and I, we were looking for houses, and it was one of those things where I knew that there was these other elements of my life that I that I needed both, cognizant and financial attention.
Yep.
And I had to sit down with the friend of mine who has tattooed me a bunch, who was, had agreed to take me on as an apprentice. And we kind of had this really, cool conversation where I respect it as a craft to not be able to give 100% to it.
Yeah.
It's
you have to be all in.
You have to.
Yeah.
And I it was a hard realization, but I got to that point where I was like, I know I can't give my 100% to this, and I love it so much that I know it deserves more than what I can give.
Yeah, and you can enjoy it for the way you enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And respect it the way you
yeah.
respect. Yeah,
and I still get tattooed, by him all the time. He is such an amazing human being, and he owns a shop in Point Pleasant. His name is Jordan Ocello. I love
Let's
Jordan.
tag Jordan.
I love Jordan to death. What's
the name of the tattoo shop?
He owns Funtown Tattoo in Point Pleasant, New Jersey. Incredible shop. Everybody there is a total heater. You go there, get tattooed. I
know my best friend's going to listen to this, and she will go there.
Yeah,
I promise.
I'm telling you. Yeah, Jordan's the man. Everybody who works there is incredible.
So, so how do you get to be the AGM here?
So, finally, there was talks of the next steps in our restaurant group. Okay. So, Neely and David, met up with the people who own the St. Laurent property, and they started, they had come in for dinner quite a few times. And, I actually almost for Jamie, Bridget, Marissa, and all the people that are, that own the property, after they came in the first time, I was the only one that took care of them. It was a really cool thing. If they were coming in, I was taking care of them.
To Heirloom.
Okay. Yeah. Also, same thing with Judy and Harry, but we'll get back to that.
I love them.
Yeah. So finally it got to the point where, this was the idea for Heirloom at the St. Laurent, which was our original iteration here.
Yeah.
Was fully coming to fruition. And David and Neely approached me asking if I would come open this with them as their lead captain.
Wow.
So that
was
huge
opportunity.
Yeah, huge. So that was awesome. I had really put all 10 toes into what they were doing at that time. And so it meant a lot for them to ask me. And I fucking love Asbury Park.
Yeah.
And my wife works in Asbury Park, and it's closer to my home. So all these things, I was like, yes.
That's awesome.
So then I came down here, and I opened this with them, and it was me, David, Neely, Danny McGill, who's a mentor of mine, and also the GM of Lita.
Oh.
So we opened this together, and I opened it as again their opening lead server. And it was awesome. And and that was it. It was kind of off to the races. And then from there, we talked about, from going from back waiter to server in Old Bridge, that's kind of how it happened here as well.
Okay.
Going from captain to management.
Yeah. So Heirloom at the St. Laurent.
Yes.
Changed, what was it? I guess a year ago. Judy's is, what, is it a year?
We're coming up, so we decided, that January, that was when we really kind of locked in on the decision to.
January of 2024?
Or no, 2025 technically, because that's when all the plans were kind of set in motion. We announced it to the staff. And then February is when we closed, and we were closed for a little over 2 weeks. And then on March 5th was Judy's first friends and family night.
So Heirloom at the St. Laurent, the concept there was, it wasn't a la carte.
No.
It was
so Heirloom Kitchen. Yeah, Heirloom Kitchen in Old Bridge is a prefix restaurant. I mean, they've gone through many different iterations, whether it's a 3-course, a 4-course, a 5-course. They've done kind of a little bit of everything. And now I believe they're doing a 4-course for the most part, with some weekly specials here and there. And then on Sundays they do a 7-course chef's tasting, which is
can't
really
you
cool.
get a la carte at the bar?
In
Old Bridge, no,
because
that's Lita.
Yeah, that's Lita.
Sorry about that. Yeah,
no worries.
Yeah.
And so we opened up here as kind of a second iteration of Heirloom as a concept.
Got it.
So we were Heirloom Kitchen 2, essentially.
Okay.
In Asbury Park.
And that was a huge success.
Yeah. I mean, it was great. Right out the gate.
Yeah, and then it was after COVID.
This was all post COVID. Yeah. July 2022.
Right. So, okay. So then they do this for 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And then they say, we want to change it to Judy and Harry's.
Yeah. I mean, what we kind of noticed is that we were so proud of the product that we were putting out and like the food that we were putting out and like some of the accolades we were getting as Heirloom. But you know, what we noticed in an area like this is that, you know, $90 a head right walking in the door, that ain't super accessible all the time. You know, like that's not going to be, you know, what everybody, you know, wants to do. You know, that's why, I mean, we were fortunate enough that a lot of people wanted to come in and sit at our bar because you could do the same thing. You could do a la carte. And that was kind of like when we noticed that something, you know, we needed to make a change.
Sure.
And we tried, you know, we tried like a bunch of different like special offerings and things like that. And some things were successful, some things weren't.
Right.
And ultimately it just put us in a position where we were like, okay, you know, we need to pivot. We need to pivot something a little harder than just like, okay, now we're fully a la carte, you know? So like we had to, you know, pivot. And then David and Neely had the concept for Judy and Harry's, you know, flushed out. And we were like, okay, like this is going to be awesome. This is going to be it. This is the thing.
And you, at this point, were not the AGM, or you were?
I was.
You were.
Yeah. So at that point in time, you know, leading up to us shutting down, you know, I had fully transitioned out of being one of the servers, and I had been, you know, I had been managing, you know, that at that time about a year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, about a year.
So Judy and Harry's. Let's explain it for the people who were listening.
Yeah, of course.
Because I keep saying it's one of my favorite restaurants, which it is, and I'll go through the dishes here anyway.
So
yeah,
it's all about like paying respect and homage to where we come from, right?
Yep.
And I don't know if you know this about Lita, but Lita is an abbreviated version of Rosalita, which is David's mother.
No.
Yeah.
I did not know that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So and obviously Lita
and Heirloom is really also where we came from too.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's the culmination of all these things is in the original restaurant. Lita, in homage to David's, you know, Portuguese family and Portuguese heritage. And then Judy and Harry being real people. For those of you listening, if you don't know, a lot of people come in and they don't really know. But Judy and Harry are real people. They are one of the owner of the restaurant groups we mentioned her earlier, Neely. That's Neely's parents.
I met them when I was here last time, and you were like, have you ever met them? I was like, no, they're the nicest, cutest, sweetest. I mean, it was
swagged out too. Like they're always like to
it was
the
such
nines.
an honor. It was I kept saying to them, I think I said it, I've had a couple glasses of wine, but I was like, it's an honor to meet you. I was like, I love it here. Because I do.
Here's a little shameless plug for me going back to the Heirloom Kitchen days.
Yeah.
So that was like the test for a server. If like you took care of Judy and Harry and they liked you, that was the test. And I just want to say, while we're recording, so everybody can know, the day I took care of Judy and Harry for the first time in Heirloom Kitchen in Old Bridge, from that night on, they requested me specifically.
Do we hear the applause?
Yeah, everybody.
Yes.
It's so loud you actually can't hear it now.
That's amazing.
No, but that was like a small moment in the beginning of like my hospitality career that I was like, I think I'm doing all right.
Totally.
I got the Judy and Harry signature.
So Harry's is a separate cocktail bar.
Yes.
Which is a dark, clubby, awesome,
super moody, super
comfy,
cool,
amazing cocktails.
Yes.
I don't even drink cocktails. I drink wine. But watching the mixologists back there, they're awesome.
Yeah, our bar team is incredible.
It's
being spearheaded currently by Bridget Ramsey. She's our bar director here, and she's just she is just a powerhouse behind the bar.
It is a total vibe in there.
Yeah.
But then you walk into Judy's, which is connected. You just walk down the hall, and it is bright. It is airy. It is open kitchen. It is
happening.
I always say it's like happening.
Yeah.
It is like Hamptons-esque in here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But the food is unbelievable.
Thank you.
Eggplant parm. I think you told me to get it my second time here, and I can't not get it because it's insane.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, you know, one of the biggest things that, one of the biggest criticisms we faced when we announced that we were reconcepting into Judy and Harry's was everybody was like, ugh, like another like another Italian place, another. And I was like, look, you know what? Let people say and think what they're going to say and think.
Yep.
Because what our mission is to show everybody the way that Good Trouble Hospitality approaches a concept like this.
there's no concept like this anywhere that I've ever been.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Don't you agree?
Yeah. I mean, look, we're putting out look, at the end of the day, it's chicken parm. There's chicken parms all over the place.
Yeah.
There's amazing chicken parms all over the place. But, the way that we want to do it, the way that we're going to do it, like how our kitchen and how like that heirloom, that good trouble hospitality, approach to the way that we're doing this kind of like cool, kitschy Jersey style food.
Yeah.
Like that's the ticket. That's what's making us a little different.
Yes. Well, I'll give you an example. Like you have on the menu a chicken Savoy as an ode to the Belmont Tavern.
Yeah.
That's literally, I think, what it says.
It says on the menu, it says an homage to the Belmont Tavern.
An homage to the Belmont Tavern. I'm a Belmont Tavern girl through and through.
Hell
I love my chicken Savoy.
Yes.
But every place does a chicken Savoy because of the Belmont Tavern.
Yeah.
But you're not pretending to do a chicken Savoy.
Yeah.
It is Judy's chicken Savoy.
Yeah.
It is a different chicken Savoy. It is delicious.
Awesome.
By
Thank
the way,
you.
it is like I'd go Belmont, then I'd go this. The Belmont is the original, so no offense.
Credit where it's due.
But it's the way you do it. It's like you're just giving the credit where the credit is due.
Yeah.
But you're also creating your own.
Of course.
Where other people don't give the credit.
Yeah.
They're like, this is my chicken Savoy.
Yeah.
No. You have to if you're from Jersey, you know what's up.
Of course.
Yeah.
You got to put the respect down, Like,
Correct.
that's what I'm saying. Respect on the Belmont Tavern being one of the titans in like Jersey Italian food.
The other thing I would say about the menu, where you don't see everything. And like I said, the tagline is a Jewish woman who thinks she's Italian.
Yeah.
Is you get, and this I think was so amazing too, is the tuna Reuben.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing. That's what Good Trouble Hospitality puts out.
It's playful.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's a culinary experience.
Yeah. I mean, it's whimsy, it's playful, it's creativity, and it's all happening in real time.
Yes.
And it's really cool to see. And like those little Jewish touches are something on our menu that I think are super cool, and what adds like this layer of nuance, which brings a little bit of like Neely's, heritage and Neely's, kind of background into this. And again, it kind of deviates us from being like just another like spaghetti joint. You know? And which is cool.
And what's nice also is, back to you, is that they call you, Mike, the ballaboosta.
The ballaboosta.
Yeah, and that to me I love that because it's honoring exactly what Judy's is.
Yeah.
And who you are.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what a ballaboosta is, it's a Yiddish term, which, that's my mother used to say it, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, and it's basically a good host.
Yeah.
Right? So they would say that about all the wives when you had people over for dinner, you'd be like, oh, she's such a good ballaboosta.
Yeah.
That's what they're calling you, and I think it's so appropriate.
Look, I just think in a past life, I was just a really cool Jewish wife.
Maybe you were. I believe it. But they also call you Mikey Mortadella.
Yeah. I mean, I got a couple of hats, both metaphorically and physically, that I wear in the space. But yeah, Neely started calling me the ballaboosta of this place, and it's something that it started as like this laughable, funny kind of like, cheeky little kitschy thing. And I'm like, no, like that. I'm like, that's what I do. Like, this is like, again, you come here and I will make sure that you have a good time.
Yes.
And I hug you on the way out.
You do.
Because it's just like, it means so much to me for somebody to take the time out of their day to come spend their time and their money here.
Yep.
That, it's my mission to make sure that, like, again, every person who comes in here, leaves feeling the love, feeling the authenticity that we bring to this place every day.
And I'm also going to say, for people who are listening, you're not bullshitting.
No.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, anyone can say that. It is the truth. And again, that's why I drove all the way down here today to sit with you. So it is not bullshit.
Thank you.
I don't do bullshit.
No bullshit.
So what's next for you? So, like, what's the goal for you? I'm just curious.
It's one of those things where it's all kind of just been happening.
Yeah.
And it's been so fun and challenging, and and it's been really incredible getting to grow with Good Trouble Hospitality. They again.
I love that name, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. And it's one of those things where they really took a chance on somebody. For people who are very serious about hospitality, they took a chance on somebody like myself who had very little experience, and I'll always be forever grateful for that. And my wagon is hitched to this train, and I love them. So I don't really know what the next thing is for me, but I know we're not stopping.
Yeah,
and I want to hang out with them. I want to be. I'm part of this team, and I'm a lifer, and I think we have a lot of really cool creative things. Coming down the barrel in the next couple of years, and that's kind of my goal, is to eventually be spearheading one of those things.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot more growth to you.
I'm
saying
like to think
that
so.
as a mom. I don't know.
I know.
Like
it
that
felt
was such a
very
mom.
maternal.
I was like, that was such a mom thing to say.
know.
But I feel like maybe it's because I'm sitting in Judy's. I mean, I'm not sure, but I feel like there is.
Yeah. I mean, I like to think so.
You're like in you're in a sweet spot, but I feel like it's like that. Like there's more burst to you.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean, like I want to just keep going. Like I accidentally found this industry. I didn't grow up in it. I wasn't in restaurants as a kid. And I found this, and I fucking love it.
Yeah.
And and like I want to keep going. I think there's more again for us. I think there's more for me, and I think I mean, it's just cool.
But I think like that's the way it should happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I think sometimes we set a path, but it's always, and I remind like my son who's like 23 and going through this, is sometimes the path finds you.
Yeah.
And you have to be open and just say, all right, and take a chance.
Yes.
But I think it's also who you are. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like this is probably was more in you than you even realized being in the hospitality.
I think so. Yeah. I think, I've always, again, I said it before, and I say this like totally like shamelessly, like I've always loved being the center of attention, like whether it was a party or if I was hosting a party or something like that. Yeah. Like I always loved that. And I love it. And I think it's less from a, it's definitely not from like an egotistical standpoint.
I get it.
I think it's more so like I always want to make sure everybody's having a good time and everybody's enjoying themselves, and embedding myself into that and knowing that I have a part in other people having a good time or feeling something good. That's always been something that I've chased.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that actually has to do with my mom, because my mom's like one of the most like selfless people I've ever met. And,
beautiful.
like you just as shirt off your back as it can get, quite literally. And, I think that has affected me in a way where it's like, I want to be that in some way, shape or form for everybody. And I also really want to have a good time doing it.
Yeah.
So if I'm having a good time, you're having a good time.
Well, I was going to say you should embrace that because, you stand out. Right? I mean, I chose you, right? I mean, every time I come in here, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
You stand out. You have that energy,
yeah.
And you should own it and you should embrace it. And I think, again, I know you a little bit, but I feel like there's big things for you. I don't know. You're a good soul.
Thank you so much.
You got that like good energy.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I would say, right, to wrap it up, right?
Sure.
Come to Judy's.
Absolutely.
I mean, how does someone listen to this and not come to Judy's?
Look, you know what? People are gonna want to come to Judy's. People are gonna want to go to the other restaurants. I want everybody to go where they want to go, and have a good time. But what I am gonna say is that I really want, if you haven't experienced this, I want you to come experience this. Because it's gonna change the way that you see what a dining experience could be.
Agreed.
And I want you to come in here. I want you to, look at me and like, I'm always like saying funny stuff on the gram. Like I remember one time I was like, you got to try this dish. It's going to knock your pajamas off. Yeah. And like, it's like, but I want you to come in here and I want you to say what's up. I want you to give me a hug. I want you to have the matzo ball soup. I want you to have everything. I want you to experience this thing that we pour our heart and souls into every day, because I promise you're going to feel it.
Well, think about how nice it is. You're talking not just about you,
yeah,
right? I mean, you have a moment, you have a mic, you could talk about yourself,
yeah,
but you're constantly talking about the staff.
Yeah.
And you're
always.
constantly talking about the hospitality group.
Yeah.
And I think that says everything.
Thank you.
You're welcome. No, thank you. I mean, thank you for sitting with me. I think you're
of course.
awesome. And I think I'm going to sell Judy's. I think everyone needs to come here. There's pictures on the wall over there
Yeah,
of
Miss
beautiful
Judy.
Judy. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's there. I love all the pictures. And I also love the Never Trust a Skinny Italian Chef book.
Yeah.
I took a picture of that.
That's a great thing to see on your way in and on your way out.
Yeah.
But,
So I would say to everyone listening, as my little wrap up, is look up Good Trouble Hospitality.
yeah, please do so.
Look up all the restaurants. But Judy's is my number one favorite, and it's only because I haven't been to the other ones yet.
Yeah, well, you got to make your way out there. And then
Yes.
for everybody listening, hit me up. Follow all the restaurants in the group. Hit me up on Instagram. I want to talk to you. I want to get to know you. I want to be friends,
Come see the ballaboosta.
Come hang out,
Come, yes.
Let's have a glass of wine. Let's have some pasta. Let's have a good time.
Exactly. Mikey Mortadella.
How you doing?
How you doing?
How's your sister?
You're the best. Thank you so
No,
much for
thank
sitting
you.
with me.
Heidi, this means so much to me. You are a quick friend that came into my life, and I look forward to having more of this.
I love it.
I love you.
I love you too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. If you are hearing this message, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I'm truly grateful for you and this opportunity. The purpose of the Behind the Counter podcast is to bring food, people, and community together. I hope you'll return for more episodes and explore with me. I want to personally thank Fran Linnell of Design 68 for my amazing Behind the Counter podcast logo, and Travis Lohenberg for my awesome Behind the Counter music, and all the guests that take their time to sit and talk with me. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you hear your podcasts. If you'd like to support the Behind the Counter podcast, please subscribe, share with your friends and family, and you can follow me on Instagram at Heidi Blum. If you have any feedback or stories that you want to share, you can email me at foodsarbtc@gmail.com.